Welcome in everyone to the Larsonland podcast. I'm your host, Sawyer Hill, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Dylan Bradshaw. We come in here every single week and talk about all things involving the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion, Young Money Kyle Larson. Dylan, so frustrating this past weekend. Good finish, don't get me wrong. I like the day that Kyle Larson had in terms of points. I think they needed a race like this to get back, steer the ship back on track. The past 2 weekends, Auto Club and Daytona weren't the best. Definitely the finishes didn't show the car that Kyle had both of those days, but second place, I'll take it, but so close to that win, and we were just screaming PSG at the end of that race.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of knew it was going to happen. We were like getting a little excited. And we were like, dude, it's NASCAR. There's going to be an overtime. Don't get too excited. We know what's going to happen. But I mean, for Larson, three top twos in the Vegas Spring Race the last 3 years. So, I mean, just Hendrick in general. You had Larson the 2021 Spring Race, he won. The 2022 race, Bowman won. Larson got second. This year, Byron won and Larson got second. So I mean, the script shows Elliott is up next for the winner in the spring race. Hendrick finished 1, 2, 3. Byron, Larson, and Bowman. So good day for Hendrick. Bad day. We got the news over the weekend. Chase Elliott. He broke his tibia, I believe it was. So he's out for an extended period of time. Josh Berry, he took over for him. Kind of just threw him in the water. I mean, he's never been in the next gen. Third cup start, no simulation, just kind of went out there and did it. I think he had some throttle issues, but um, overall good day for Hendrick, but yeah, just tough there at the end. Typical Larson fashion, getting screwed over by a late yellow.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those ones where you're like, it's too good to be true. Like he definitely didn't have the fastest car all day. William definitely had the fastest car. We saw the entire race. I mean, it was pretty much dominated by Hendrick, especially William and Kyle, where William led, one stage one and one stage two, Kyle finishing second in both of those stages. And it was kind of like the five team was just a little bit off from what the 24 had. And when a guy, I definitely wanted Kyle to win that race at the end of the day, but I was not disappointed to see William win it just because I think he did have the best car all day, and whenever the best car wins the race, I think that you feel like you got a good race out of it. You got with the right result, and I think Kyle winning, he was the second best car if he were able to win. But William was super fast, and at the end of the day, it came down to 6 tenths of a second on a pit stop at the end, and Martin Truex Jr. staying out. It was just those last couple lap caution scenarios. You could go about it a million different ways. I mean, we look at on social media the backlash from what occurred yesterday. Everybody has a different idea of, maybe Kyle should have started on the inside or the outside instead of choosing the bottom being third. It's like there's a million different things you can think of, Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because the outside lane, it just wasn't really quick all day. So, I mean, that puts him on the inside behind Truex. Truex didn't have tires. He kind of held that lineup a little bit. But, I mean, right before the caution came out, Larson, I mean, at one point he was like 5, 6 seconds ahead of Byron. Right before the caution came out, Byron was, I think he was a second and 6 tenths behind. So, if the caution didn't come out, I mean, there's really no saying that Larson even would have gotten the win. Byron was closing in really quick. There was a lot of lap cars. Larson had to navigate some lap traffic there, but as far as the caution goes, I don't know, man. Like, if it was lap 20, I don't think that would have been a yellow, but because it's the end of the race, got to get an overtime in. I don't know. It's Almirola. Like he hit the wall, he got loose. He kept the car rolling though. I mean, he kept going.
Yeah.
Larson had a really similar. We'll actually link the video in the description of YouTube. But Larson had a really similar spin that Almirola had in the 2022 Kansas race. He was leading, got sideways, back quarter panel, hit the wall, kept it rolling. No caution was thrown. That was in stage three of the Kansas race. Larson kept it rolling in second, and Busch went on to win that one. But um, I don't know. It's like the tower just had their hand just hovering over that yellow and just was waiting, just waiting for the little bit of anything debatable on a caution.
Yeah, I think NASCAR wanted to get their good finish, their overtime finish at the end of that one for sure. I mean, definitely it was a close decision. I mean, I think that if I was unbiased and I was sitting in the tower, I probably would have thrown the caution too, just because I mean, it looked like he was going to go around. It really did. It looked like it. Um, but it's tough because you do know that NASCAR is sitting there and they want to get a good finish. They already probably were thinking that this race was kind of a snoozer. I mean, we saw Hendrick dominate it the entire race, and even at the end of the race there, Kyle was up. I mean, Byron was closing in for sure, but he was up 3, 4, 5 seconds at some points. So I don't want to say that it was definitely NASCAR conspiring against Kyle Larson or anything like that, or any driver for that matter, but it just sucks when it's your guy out front and you know the caution's coming. You just know it. And the other thing is when you're watching the Fox broadcast, Larry McReynolds always gets on there with like 10 to go or whatever, and they say the trends of the race in the last 50 Las Vegas races, there's been a caution inside of 5 laps, and then Almirola spins out and the caution flags out. You just hate to see it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I don't want to be too biased. I mean, we're obviously salty being Larson fans, seeing how it ended up. But like I said, if it was early in the race, I don't think they throw the caution. But it is what it is. But as far as the race itself, like you said, it was a little bit of a snoozer, and I think it begs the question: are the races getting worse? Because we saw the Auto Club race this year; it wasn't bad, but last year's race, I would say, it's probably one of the better races of the year. Las Vegas yesterday. It was I don't think it was anywhere near the two races last year, but I mean the teams they've had a year to work on the car. They're kind of getting settled in, and I mean that could answer my own question. I
Yeah.
mean, are these teams settling in? Is this making it even more even? Because we're even seeing guys now that have really no business being like near the top 10, getting top 10 finishes. I mean, it's just very even. There's not a ton of passing, so maybe these teams are just completely comfortable all in all universally with how the next gen is, and they're just all you know comfortable across the board with it.
Well, and I think yeah, you could look at it that way for sure, but also I think we saw like this week where Hendrick was just dominant. I mean, I think last year there wasn't. I think some of the bigger teams, the better teams. Obviously, this is a pretty much a spec series now. I mean, everybody's got the same exact car for the most part, and there's not a lot of room for making adjustments and being different than the competition. But I said it last year a couple times on our podcasts where I thought I was kind of saying that the really good teams like Hendrick, they are going to find a way to get an advantage over the rest of the field, even with it being the same exact car and not building their own race cars. And I think that we're starting to see that a little bit here this season, and we even saw it a little bit at the end of last year where the good teams, they're figuring stuff out at a higher rate than some of the smaller teams, the single car teams, the two-car teams. And Hendrick obviously had something that everybody else didn't yesterday. 1, 2, 3, and I think if Chase Elliott was not sitting up in bed with a broken leg, then I think he would have been up there inside the top 5 as well. So definitely tough. And when the racing, when the teams figure stuff out and get better, the racing does get a little bit boring sometimes like that, where it's not as competitive. But overall, I mean, I can't complain. Art Hendrick was out front, and good race for them and good race for Kyle. I think the points day, I think that was the highlight. I think for Kyle was he was not even inside the top 16 in points before this race, and now we see he's sitting I think 14th. We have 3 different winners in the first 3 races, but desperately needed that one after the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it was completely awful. I mean, there was a little bit of passing here and there, in the packs of the cars, but I mean, the race saw three green flag passes for the lead, and two of the three came within 5 laps of the restart. So, I mean, we really had just, it was very dominated. It was just
Yeah.
Byron, and the next car was Larson. There was really no one else even coming close to their speed. I mean, Bowman, he ran well. He ran through the top five, but I mean, Byron, like we said earlier, I mean, he deserved it. He was the fastest car. Can't be too salty about that one. happens with Larson too. Like if someone else other than Larson won Homestead last year, we would have been very furious
Yeah.
about it. So it's never bad to see the fastest car win, but man, it just sucks. And I mean, at least Larson was able to pick up. He got second in all three stages. So like you said, good points day. And you know, as we go forward. We I guess we can expect the Hendrick cars to just dominate on these mile and a halves. I think the next track is Kansas, which Larson always tends to do pretty good at. But heading into Phoenix, Phoenix races last year weren't too hot. Phoenix, this will be the debut race for the new aero package for the short track.
Oh
So
yeah.
as we know, that's kind of the biggest downfall of the next gen is the short tracks and the road courses. So you know, hopefully that package will improve the quality of racing.
Fingers crossed for that for sure. I
Yeah.
don't I love Phoenix. I think it's a good track. But it's just gotten the short end of the stick with the next gen car, and same thing goes for all the other short tracks. So hopefully, I'm glad to see NASCAR is working on stuff and trying to make changes, because a lot of times we've seen NASCAR just, ignore problems that are going on in the sport, but I think right now they're doing a great job staying on top of things, and it seems like they want to improve the quality of racing, and they clearly are taking complaints from the drivers and from the fans as well. I mean, these, like you said, the Phoenix races last year were just probably two of the worst races, that I can really that come to the top of my head. But statistically, moving into Phoenix, I think this is a track that we can kind of look for Kyle to have another good run at. I mean, Kyle has been really good at Phoenix. He's in the last 8 races that Kyle has ran at Phoenix, he's only been outside of the top 10 once, and that was last year in the spring when they had the engine issue, and he had a bad fast car on that day too, if everybody remembers. And so I think Kyle's going to do good, and maybe be able to compete for a win.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I mean, overall, the Chevys this year have just been lights out. I mean, we have all Chevys winning.
Right.
The Toyotas have been pretty lackluster. Fords, I don't know, they just don't have the speed. The Chevys just have been really quick. I mean, we had Stenhouse get the win at Daytona, Kyle Busch, obviously Byron yesterday, but there's just been tons of Chevys running the top 10, top five. So no one's really holding them right now. So I mean, I guess we'll see as we go towards this next few races. Phoenix definitely going to be one to see. There's not a ton of passing there, so I think if we just qualify good, then we'll be good to go there.
And like kind of going back to like the manufacturer thing, I was super surprised at Vegas this yesterday how bad Penske was. I mean, they
Mhm.
qualified. They looked so strong qualifying. Like Joey Logano went out there, set the pole, and he was just. It looked like he was going to be way faster than everybody else. Blaney was up there too. I think Cindric didn't qualify horrible, and I was thinking, okay, maybe this is going to be a Hendrick versus Penske battle. That's kind of what it looked like it was going to shape up to be. And Penske, I mean, they fell down quick. I mean, I think I looked at it, it was in stage one, and Logano was like running 15th, 14th or 15th, and nothing had even happened to him. He was just that bad. So definitely good for Chevy so far this year. We'll see it at Phoenix. I know Phoenix. We kind of it's one of those tracks we know we expect Kevin Harvick to be very good at. He could potentially continue his amazing streak at Phoenix, but I can't go against Chevy right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're heading into an interesting stretch of races. You know, we have Phoenix in a short track. We go right back to basically the super speedway Atlanta we have now. Then after that, we have Coda. After that, we have Richmond. So we're heading into these stretches of races where the next gen wasn't very strong last year. So we'll just see, as we said, hopefully they improve with the packages, the quality of racing. There was a lot of things we complained about last year. One thing being the tire issue. It seems like that's kind of squared away. We haven't really had a ton of tire issues this year.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a good thing. They're improving in that front. So, um, you know, Phoenix, good race for Kyle. Super Speedway after that. Probably not looking too hot there, but Kyle's always good on the road courses. Kyle and Elliott, they're always the two that kind of are battling for that win, but we don't really have to worry about Elliott right now. So hopefully Coda after Atlanta will be a good one for him.
Yeah, maybe Coda, like maybe I know that they already announced Hendrick Motorsports that they're gonna be running the Xfinity car at like certain races this year. I don't know if I think that's one that we could maybe see the first Xfinity race for the Hendrick Motorsports entry, the 17 car. I don't nothing has been confirmed about that yet, but potentially could see Kyle in that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of guys recently, like more than last year, that've been running Xfinity. Like, we saw Chastain's been running it, Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon. I mean, there's been a lot of guys that usually don't run these Xfinity races this year. So, and they're on ovals. You usually see that more commonly on the road courses. So, I mean, that's pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah, and I think Hendrick's focus is probably still going to be on the road courses. And I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast. I can't remember if it was on the pod or if it was off the pod. But one thing I thought was interesting was NASCAR setting out the rule to not allow any Cup Series drivers to compete in that Chicago street course race in the Xfinity Series. Just a unique kind of rule that they had set out for that event because you kind of think about it like in the past, like Bristol Dirt and stuff like that, where it's a unique event. Like they didn't ban Cup drivers for running in the trucks at Bristol Dirt, and now they're gonna do it for the Chicago race, which is just kind of interesting. It just seems like they want to put they would just want to put their foot down on guys like Hendrick that have an opportunity to get one up on some of the smaller teams that don't have a chance to run two races in the same weekend. I just disagree with NASCAR doing that. I think that they should be able to, if they have a car and they have a driver that wants to run it, they should be able to run that race.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of ways you can look at it. There's a huge debate of whether or not Cup guys should even be allowed to run in trucks and Xfinity. It depends the way you look at it. Like they're either going out there and just dominating the guys, or they're going out there and giving the guys some competition, help them get better, improve on some things. So, I mean, I don't really have a problem with it. I think the biggest culprit of that is Kyle Busch because he just dominated trucks and Xfinity for so many years, dominated Cup in the same time period. So I think he was one of the biggest reasons for why people hate seeing the Cup guys in the lower series.
Absolutely. So before we go, I wanted to ask your opinion on the whole Chase Elliott thing. I know it's been a lot of debate about it. I know I feel like, I don't have any problem with Chase snowboarding on his free time. He's a human being just like anybody else, and obviously Hendrick allows their drivers to run so much stuff. Do such a nice job with Kyle. Kyle runs a ton of races every year, and we're super thankful for that, and I know Kyle is too. But what was your take on it, Dylan? I mean, so many people were saying like Chase Elliott should never go outside. He should stay inside every day of the week until race day. Like, I can't stand that stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. You got to let the guy live his life. That's what Hendrick said. I mean, there's nothing they can do to restrict him. Driving a car is his job at the end of the day, and you got to kind of have your freedom. I mean, stopping him from doing that, he flies his plane all the time. He flies his plane to races, so you're gonna stop him from flying to the races. So,
Right.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, these guys, even though it's not a racing related incident, he's been doing it for years and years and years, and it's just a freak accident happens. Accidents happen, and he just shouldn't be, locked up and only racing. I mean, this could happen in the off season. Something bad could happen, and he wouldn't have been ready for the beginning of the season. So it doesn't really matter when it happens. It sucks it happened, but I think they will give him that waiver. They've given waivers to the people in the past. The big one's Kyle Busch. That was racing related, but I believe there was a Tony Stewart incident where he got like in an ATV accident or something, and he got the waiver for that. So I think they'll be good to go. But obviously, if he gets the waiver, gonna need the win to get in. He's has no chance getting back on points, but
Oh yeah.
it's also a matter of when he will return. I mean, it depends where the break was. It could take 3 to 6 months, I think I saw, for full recovery. So, um, yeah, it just all depends on that and when he'll come back.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna be hard pressed to get a win when he comes back. But Josh Berry filled in this weekend or this past weekend, and I don't think he's gonna be filling in like moving forward. I think that they still haven't decided who's gonna be the driver, um, or if it's gonna be a race by race thing, or if they're just gonna pick somebody and that's gonna be the guy for until Chase comes back. I mean, we haven't seen a guy really in the past couple of years fill in a Hendrick car and do that good. I mean, we saw Gregson fill in last year, and he was just not on pace. I don't know if it's I don't know what it is. I don't know. I think Gregson's a really good driver. I think Josh Berry's a really good driver too, but I don't know if it has to do with this next gen car, if it's like that much different. But it's just interesting to see. Like I know Josh Berry had some issues and stuff yesterday, but just not even close to being on pace with the rest of the Hendrick cars.
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the beginning, it's kind of hard to expect a lot from him, and you just throwing him in. He has no practice, nothing, never been in the next gen. I think that is a big thing because you can go from Xfinity to the Gen 6 car, and I mean they're pretty similar. It's just a whole new ball game with the next gen. So Barry is that next guy in line. I mean, the JRM crew, they got Barry, Allgaier, but I think Allgaier's kind of had his shot in the next gen car. I think they kind of have him set up as the Xfinity guy, and like you said, last year was Gregson. He was that next guy in line. So I think they will move forward with Barry. I mean, depending on his finishes at these tracks, I don't know who else they would put in there. I mean, they got a young group of guys at JRM. They got Mayer. They got Brandon Jones this year, which is still trying to find his way in that nine car. And so it just leaves Allgaier and Barry. And I mean, I think they're going to roll with Barry though, kind of give him a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. That's the thing. It's tough because it's like I think like part of me is like, man, maybe there's a better option out there. Maybe there's something else they could do. But really, like looking at the pool of drivers that Chevrolet has right now, like in Xfinity and stuff, I think that's honestly probably like the best choice that they have at this point. So
Yeah, and you want like experienced guys. Like there's a lot of young guys in the smaller series, so you don't just want to throw a young guy that hasn't, really proven himself in Xfinity or trucks in there. I mean, so I do think Barry would be the best option moving forward.
absolutely. So I don't think no dirt again this week. We don't expect anything this week, so maybe in the next couple weeks some stuff will pick back up. We know that the Tulare, the Thunderbolt race for the high limit on the 21st is confirmed, and Kyle will be there at that one. But besides that, I think the next one that we have confirmed is the Kyle Larson Late Model Challenge, Volunteer Speedway, right before the Bristol Dirt. That's on April 6th. And right now, that's kind of where we sit with Kyle Larson's racing. So I think that should pretty much wrap up today's show. So close this week, hoping to come back next week and have a Victory Monday podcast, but we'll hold off for a week. We'll be back again next week to recap the race from Phoenix and any other news involving Kyle Larson and his racing in general. If you're watching this on YouTube, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please follow this podcast so you never miss an episode. Have a great rest of the week, everyone, and enjoy the on track action at Phoenix. We will see you in the next episode.